Hello there, my name is KHI, and this is the first episode of a series where I break down the story and morals of entertainment and find a way to apply it to everyday life. So without further ado, let's get started. So for this week, I've chosen the game Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. Now, to put it simply, this is a game that is set in feudal Japan and follows the story of a disgraced shinobi who throughout the first half works to reclaim his kidnapped lord, and after retrieving Kuro, his lord, Sekiro, meaning the one-armed wolf, tries to find a way to sever his lord's immortality. Throughout the story, Sekiro meets many different characters, all of them very eccentric, namely an old shinobi, an elite swordmaster who happens to be a doctor, an old man feared for taking over an entire country. He meets an especially large, baby-like monk. He also meets a pair of dudes who feel like they want to be fish for some reason.
Listen, I want to become a god, a giant god that will continue growing and live a long life.
And a few less than savory merchants. Sekiro, not being the most vocal protagonist ever, rarely reveals how he feels, and I like to think he cherishes these bonds, making the Shura ending all the more poignant. Speaking of endings, there are 4 different endings, and 3 of them, in one way or another, would be considered a bad ending. The 4th ending isn't truly good in the sense of the word, but it is left open-ended, so we're not exactly sure whether or not it ended good or bad. The ending of Sekiro is left ambiguous to give a sense of closure to the character, making them interpret the story in any way they want. And as such, I've interpreted as this is a bad ending, simply due to the fact that we're not sure what happens. But seeing as this world has ended up this way, I'm pretty sure something horrible happened to them along the way to return the dragon's heritage to the West. Now, my interpretation is as follows. In life, we make many connections. Even if you consider yourself a loner, you should have at least had one human bond, like with your parents or your siblings or that one friend you made, or even people you've never met, like musicians and actors. They make you feel like somebody cares about you. Now, from my background in psychology, I'm gonna break down Sekiro's mind, and from what I can see, and what I can psychoanalyze from a character in a video game, Sekiro is a story of a man who finds validation and self-worth in others. At the start of his story, he depends greatly on his foster father, the great shinobi Owl, for everything. The Owl taught him how to live, how to fight, and gave him the code he lives by, giving him meaning and purpose, something he strived for. His father's approval was the one thing he desired, and as such he obeyed the laws that he was given to him by his father, namely the Shinobi Iron Code. The reason why Sekiro craves his father's approval is that he is an orphan. He was found on the battlefield by the Owl a very long time ago, and as such he has a sense of abandonment and refuses to allow anybody else to walk out of his life. As long as he can please the people around him, he believes that he will be happy, that they will not leave him behind the way he was left behind before. This culminates in very toxic relationships. It shows that Sekiro has a very large fear of abandonment and very low self-worth from the way he throws himself into battle at the smallest whim that his master or somebody else will throw at him. Almost every connection made by Sekiro results in toxic or dangerous situations. When he tries to please Emma, the doctor, he ends up killing himself to adhere to her wishes to not let Kuro die. When he obeys the child of the rejuvenating waters, he ends up feeling guilty for her losing her eyes, and is sent on an unsure journey to who knows where to try something that has no confirmation of working out. When he accepts Ishin's requests, he kills several people who were only trying to observe Ashina, and when he follows what Kuro wants, Kuro dies, causing Sekiro to lose the only thing he had to live for at that point. Not to mention that he was forced to kill his father, the man who gave him everything. The moral of Sekiro is a simple one, but can be very, very deep if you actually try to look into it a bit more. The moral being, Finding your worth in others will only bring strife. Having your self-confidence be rooted in the opinions of others leaves you wide open to many, many dangerous and downright harmful situations. Having the expectation that you'll be happy because someone else is happy is a slippery slope, making you easily manipulated and used. Now, I'm not saying that doing nice things for others is going to lead you down this path, but not taking care of yourself for yourself is going to lead to this almost always. Sekiro falls into this trap and takes it a step further by not basing just his happiness on others, but his entire existence. If you do not place yourself first in life, you will never be able to please others because you yourself will always be unhappy. And this is shown by Sekiro always having another issue, another demon to slay, another boss to kill, another enemy to slay because somebody else told him to. This is always going to lead to unhappiness no matter what. No matter what you do, no matter how you approach it. And if you do not find worth in yourself, you yourself will never be happy. You will always be behind. You will always think that others are going to be the root of your happiness, regardless of what happens. So, how would you stop this? How would you be able to keep yourself from falling into this trap? How would you be able to prevent yourself from losing everything you have simply because you want to please others? And this isn't very difficult to do, but it's going to take time. If you are unable to see value in yourself, you will never be able to be happy. And this is just the sad truth. A lot of us out here have very bad self-esteem, very bad self-worth, and I've struggled with abandonment and self-worth issues. And in order to fix that, you're going to have to be very introspective. You're going to have to take a step back from everything. Look at yourself in the eye and find things about yourself that are worth loving. Everybody has something that makes them special. Everybody has something that makes them capable of being loved. And if you're not able to recognize this, you will be unable to get out of this trap. So a small thing you can do is you can find things about yourself that you may not love but are worthwhile. If people say you're funny, people say you dress well, people say you've got an interesting sense of style, you have nice handwriting, something as mundane as that would actually be something that you could learn to love. And if you're able to learn to love something about yourself, climbing through all that self-worth issues, you should be able to find a way to appreciate others and to be involved in others' lives without having to be completely dependent on them, without having to be completely subservient to the will of others simply because you don't want to make them unhappy, you don't want to make them leave you. And this can be the hardest thing. A lot of people will struggle with this sort of thing, but Sekiro, the game, will actually help us with this, because if you pay attention to the end of the game, the choice is yours at the end. You can choose to side with your father, the man who gave you everything, and instead choose the bonds that you think are most worth. You have 4 different paths. Now all 4, we're not sure if we're going to lead to happiness, but you have the choice. You have the ability to choose your mistakes. And if you're able to choose your mistakes, it'll be much easier for you to learn from them and not do anything similar to that in the future. Okay, thank you for your time. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. It lets me know if I should make more in the future. Don't forget to subscribe and follow me on Twitter. I will also be streaming on Twitch in a month's time, so you can see me there. If you have any questions or you have any comments to make, you can also leave those. I am now signing out. Have a wonderful day.